Welcome to Cultivate, a Veritas Academy podcast, where we explore truth, beauty, and goodness through meaningful conversation. We invite you to join us in discussions meant to edify your mind, encourage your heart, and equip your family to live abundantly in Christ.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ty Fisher. Welcome to Cultivate. I'm the head of school here at Veritas Academy. And I know that every year a new crop of students comes along, and whether it be starting in preschool or in kindergarten, parents are worried. I see this when I talk with young parents, and especially with their first child. They're worried about that question, is my child ready for kindergarten? So today we have a group of interesting experts from Veritas Academy. We have two of our kindergarten teachers, Jackie Lake and Laurie Conrad, and our preschool director, Meghan Lake. Now, you might have noticed we're not the land of 10,000 lakes here at Veritas, but we at least have two lakes. So you're going to get to know them a little bit, and we're going to explore how you can get your kids ready for kindergarten so you can feel less stress and anxiety and have a sense of they're really ready. So like I said, we have two kindergarten teachers and our preschool director. So let's start just by having them tell you a little bit about themselves. And I'm going to start with Meghan because Meghan is the preschool. So we're going to work our way up chronologically here. So Meghan, tell us a little bit about your background and how long you've been working at the Veritas Preschool.
Sure. So my name is Meghan Lake, and I am actually a graduate of Veritas Academy. And I have been teaching at the preschool for the past 9 years, and I've been the director for 4 of those 9 years.
Wow. And it is always great to have alumni around, and Meghan is the most around alumni.
Probably true.
Yeah. So then you hand them off.
Yes. So then I actually get to hand quite a few of my PreK graduates off to my mom.
So Jackie, tell us a little bit about your background in teaching.
I'm Jackie Lake, and I've been teaching kindergarten here at Veritas for 21 years, and I actually taught kindergarten before that at another school, and then I've also had the opportunity to teach all the grades before that at a school in Baltimore where I'm originally from.
Go Ravens. Okay, so you don't know Jackie, but it's amazing what she's accomplished. She's 36 years old and has been teaching for more years than that. So, and then Laurie Conrad. So we have two kindergarten classes at Veritas. So both teachers are here. So Laurie, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so this is my second year at Veritas Academy. And prior to Veritas, I put in 21 years in other schools, and I've taught kindergarten through 4th grade. And this is my 5th year teaching kindergarten.
Wow. And those kids are so wonderful. Honestly, whenever I'm at the preschool, or I get the pleasure of getting to shake people's hands as they come in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And those kindergartners, I tell you, I don't know if they're making them cuter these days or what, but they're just wonderful to be with. So I'm going to direct this one at Jackie first. Because you've done kindergarten testing here for Veritas, and I like to tell parents, I'm trying to get their heart rate down when the child's here doing testing, and I say, Veritas, and they're at Veritas because it's an academically rigorous school. But when they get here, they're worried their child's not ready, and I tell them, on this test, they can actually miss the questions and still be ready. So what are you looking for when you give that child a test?
Well, basically, I am looking to see how well they can sit, how long they can sit, and their attention span, because that determines how well they'll do in kindergarten. They actually do not need to know anything because we're going to be teaching it to them. But I also like to see what they do know, and that helps me, too, to plan as I'm getting ready for my kindergarten class for that year. But I'm basically looking just to see how well they listen and how long they can sit.
Yeah. So And there have been some funny moments in testing history here at Veritas. And I think it was Jackie. It might not have been, but I'm meeting with the parents typically while the teachers are doing the testing. And once I got done talking with the parents and the child wasn't back from a kindergarten test, and usually they're back by the time I'm done talking. So I went down and I walked in the room, and I think it was Jackie, and I was the child's nowhere to be seen. So I'm like, what's happening? I mean, did we lose a child? And I think you pointed at the bottom of the desk, and there was a little boy that was like holding on like Spider-Man on the bottom of the desk. And I said, maybe a little bit more time to mature. And you nodded yes. So it's not about how long you can be in contact with the desk. It's how long you can be sitting and attentive at the desk. Yep. So, Laurie, what are you really looking for in kindergarten readiness?
Yeah, I think if I picked one global idea, I would say that the child would be able to listen to and follow instructions from another adult.
So what you're saying is that, sometimes we see that kids are obedient when their parents ask them to do something. Sometimes not. Sometimes they're more obedient to the other person than the parents. But that being able to take instruction is really what you're talking about. Now, Meghan, it's a little bit more, it's complicated when you're thinking about preschool. When folks are thinking about sending their child to preschool, what are the signs that they're ready?
Actually, for preschool, it gets a little bit less than what they're looking for, because a lot of parents who are looking to enroll their children in our preschool are looking for what Mrs. Lake and Mrs. Conrad were just saying about. They're looking for their kids to adjust to school routines and to gain that ability.
So that idea of kids being ready for instruction
Correct.
is one of the things that if they go to our preschool, they're being prepared for that here at Veritas.
Yes, and we spend a lot of time working on that and giving them different kinds of experiences to strengthen those skills.
Yeah, but you now, and I'm just we had laughed about this beforehand, but they also have to be potty trained, right?
Yes, they do.
There's and that doesn't mean that there's no accidents in preschool. We just don't want there to be constant accidents in preschool.
Correct.
That's right.
Yes, that is the goal.
Yep. So how much anxiety should parents have when they're thinking about getting their kids ready for kindergarten? Because I see a lot of anxiety sometimes from parents. So what's a healthy level of concern? What's an unhealthy level of concern? Anyone want to take that on?
Well, it's kind of like nurturing a plant. You provide sunshine and water and soil, and you're monitoring those kind of things and adjusting them. So if you're growing a house plant, you're not like hovering over the plant, wringing your hands over the plant.
I am.
Okay.
I do that.
I guess there's a natural process that happens within each child, and providing a supportive, loving environment is the best way to approach it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else want to add on to that?
I would say basically the same thing. Not all children are necessarily ready at the same time, but I believe they all get there. It might just take some a little longer, and I don't think the parents really need to worry about that. Their child will eventually be ready, and they just have to go through that process.
So you're talking about one of those hot button issues. Now, here at Veritas, we don't try to discriminate by sex. But this is usually more an issue with the boys than the girls, right? That my wife, Emily, teaches here, and she said that, I said, do you really think boys are less mature than girls? She's like, yeah, they never catch up. And I'm like, no, we catch up at some point, right? Like when we're adults. She's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. But a lot of times, so there are times when we tell parents, there's a child that's 5 years old, and we say we still think that they could wait. When you're making that judgment, Jackie, what's that? So if I'm a parent of a boy, or a parent of a girl, I'm only parents of girls, but if I'm a parent of a boy or a parent of a girl, is that readiness going to look different, or should I be less concerned if my son is hanging on the bottom of the desk?
Well, there are many parents who have asked me in the past, is my child ready? And I often say, if you feel that your child isn't ready, you would be better off waiting. I've never seen a child that is hurt by waiting, but I have seen children that are harmed if they're pushed on and they're not ready. So I always advise the parents, if you're not sure or you feel uncertain, I would go with waiting.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I, before my time here at Veritas, just something that I wouldn't have known. And it's interesting to me to have watched sometimes when parents are kind of pushing, and there's a child that is on that borderline of being mature enough, and maybe they're very intelligent, but it's usually not in like kindergarten or first grade where that we see problems or struggles. It's like second grade, third grade, and fourth grade where those things really pop out. So, but let's say you've got a child who's interested in learning, which many kids are. If you had to just work on one thing with them, and maybe Meghan, since you're doing preschool, what are the most important things to work on with those 3, 4, and 5-year-olds? Most important skills to work on to get them ready for academic life in a K-12 school?
We kind of have a pattern at the preschool for our 3-year-old class. We really focus, or we tell people our 2 main focuses are math and then literacy and reading. And so with that, we're working with the 3-year-olds on recognizing and counting 1 to 10. And then in pre-K, we move up to 1 through 20 with the recognition. With the letters, we're introducing them to the letters with the 3 and 4 preschool. And then in the 4 and 5 class, we start working on the sounds. And then, as has been mentioned before, each group is different. And so we just expound on that. Like right now, my class this morning was counting up to 100. So,
wow.
So we're, we kind of follow the kids' leads and build on that. But those are the basics
so
that
these
we're
are
focusing
5-year-old kids who are going on to kindergarten, counting to 100. I bet they get excited when they get to 100.
Yes, they do. And I mean, some of them have been doing it all year. I have one little guy who's been telling everyone he meets, I can count to 100, and he can. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, so all of you who are listening, you're not in the room here. So not only are the kids really excited when they can count to 100, but the kindergarten teachers were applauding. They were really excited to get these kids that can count to 100. So Laurie and Jackie, would you agree with that, or is there anything else you would like to add to that?
I would agree with Meghan. Those are the basic things that we're looking for. And when it comes to reading, the best way to help your child is by reading to them, or them seeing you read and you being a model of reading. So that's really important, and that really gets them excited about wanting to learn the letters and then to put it together and learn to read.
And reading there's Meghan, you probably see this, and I'm sure Jackie and Laurie, you see it too, that just the way a student's face lights up when they can decode words. Now, interestingly, I just finished listening to a book on the history of the city of Thebes in Greece. And they were talking about that Cadmus was the one in the mythology. Cadmus is the one that brought the Phoenician alphabet, a phonetic alphabet, to the Greeks. So, and I thought about, wow, that's such an important moment, because that phonetic alphabet then can be sounded out, right? So Laurie, maybe why is the phonetic approach to reading that we take, why is that so important for helping kids thrive as readers?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of talk now in the media and in our society right now that phonics is getting a lot of attention. And you can find it under the description of science of reading if you read any newspaper or media, it's going to pop up. But I do want to address that because it's something that Jackie and I feel very strongly about, and something that we both really appreciate about teaching here at Veritas. And I know Jackie already knows this, and Ty already knows this. Like, they already knew without a doubt that phonics is the approach to use.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there in society that didn't understand. And I think the one thing that made it very clear to me is to realize that reading goes from speech to print, speech to print. And a lot of times we think that reading is a visual activity primarily, and it's actually a phonetic activity primarily.
That's very interesting. You know, I was listening to a podcast recently. I don't remember which one it was, but they actually had someone who had been a reading teacher, a teacher of young people, who wasn't using a phonetic approach, who realized, my goodness, these kids aren't able to read well. And then she started studying and now is an advocate for phonics. But they actually had recordings of classes that were more of a whole language approach, where they were really, and I'm not making, like, this is actually what the teacher would say to the kid, look at the picture and guess what the next word is. And I because we've always used phonics here at Veritas, I was horrified. I was like, how is that kid ever going to learn? Reading would be so frustrating if you're just guessing at words. But another thing that we talked about, those skills of kind of working with numbers. By the way, I was down in Miss Chapin's classroom today in second grade, and she was teaching them about superscript numbers, like numbers that are flying like Superman above, and subscript numbers, which are like a submarine below, right? And then the kids were so excited, I poked my head in, and we started doing exponent math. So I did 3 to the 5th, and they were all writing out, and it's 729, I think. But they were just so excited that they got in. But here at Veritas, not only are we looking for those skills, we're looking for inspiring the love of learning. So how is it, and I want each of you to answer this question. We'll start with Meghan and work our way down. How do you help students love learning? How do you inspire that in students? What do you think the keys are?
Well, in preschool, we don't use a specific curriculum. It is more based on the children's development at this age, where it's hands-on. So we use a lot of different themes throughout the year. And sometimes I will even change the themes I'm doing just based off the interest of the class. And of course, sometimes these are things like outer space, for example, where they've learned things beforehand, but they get really excited to get to talk about the thing that they love. But then we are reading books to them about it and still practicing our letters. And if it's outer space, we might be counting stars or something like that ties in those skills that we want them to learn. But it's connecting to things that they're excited to learn about and try.
The world's just opening up for them, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just so fun to tell them about a special activity we're going to do because they're so enthusiastic about all the different experiences throughout the school year.
So Jackie, how do you inspire that love of learning in your students?
I also try to get to know my students really well that first week of school so that I can find out what their interests are and their likes. And if the reading goes along with their interests, they're much more excited about it. And they also get excited when they see that I'm excited about a particular subject, and they'll really be excited about that too. So watching me and then also trying to get to their interests, their particular interests, really helps them to get excited.
So show and tell actually helps you more than it does them.
Exactly.
So Laurie, how about you? How do you inspire the love of learning?
Yeah, I agree with Jackie that role modeling the love of learning is a really great way.
It's like contagious.
It is contagious, and then it fills up the whole room where the children have their hands raised, they're interacting with the material, they're thinking about things. I also use classroom discussions to invite curiosity and wonder. A lot of times I'll ask open-ended questions like, what do you notice? Or why do you think this is happening? Or do you see any patterns? And it just allows them to take a moment to observe and to look for patterns and to notice things that I don't actually tell them about, but then they'll volunteer some ideas, and one child's idea can lead to another child's idea, and then they can kind of spark ideas between each other.
Yeah. Now, and these kids, if you don't think they love learning, you come in and visit Veritas Academy. And I had a great example of this a few days ago, Laurie. I was watching your class, and you didn't know I was watching. We have some beautiful flowering trees out in front of the school, and I guess you were helping them to see the changes because, unfortunately, they're not flowering all the time. You know, the leaves come out, and you asked something like, "Is it the same color?" And they were like, No, it's pink and green. And there were kids jumping up and down, and they're so excited. I'm like, wow, those kids are into it.
Yeah, I think that is the great thing with kindergartners, because wonderment and curiosity is just part of their natural bent.
Yeah. And I tell you what, another thing that is just, it's just such a joy. When I walk around the hallways here, if I hear the singing going on down in kindergarten and first grade, you get together and you got quite a choir there singing hymns, and Mrs. Lake is playing the piano. So we just recently had a grandparents' day here, and the kids from memory, because they've been doing it throughout the year, they probably did 10 or 12 hymns, great hymns from memory. And, you know, I'm sitting over there as head of school, you know, they're singing better than I would, I think. But just watching these grandparents react to that. And I don't know if it was in kindergarten or first grade, but there was one grandparent that a teacher quoted who said, "This is the best day of my life." Is that what that was, you, Jackie? Best day of his life, because he saw his grandson, I don't know which one, just, and they weren't singing quietly or in a silly manner. They were really pouring themselves into those hymns. So it was really beautiful, really impactful. So how could parents find out more about our kindergarten and preschool? Where would they need to go, or how could they learn about that? Meghan, why don't you start with that one?
Well, a great place to start is to visit our website. There is a preschool tab, and you can get all of my contact information. My email is there, and I am happy to schedule a tour or set up a meeting to let parents know.
Well, and it's a big deal because there aren't that many, like, as we're recording this, we're recording it in early May, and we're almost full already. So it's like you got to be on the ball as
Correct. A lot of parents, especially if it is their first child in preschool, are surprised to find out that preschools begin filling up in January and February. So yeah, I would say, you know, fall is a great time to begin searching your options, and then just be on the lookout for those open house and visits in January. And of course, that's when we start offering our open house events, or I can schedule tours. And then, the classes, usually by the end of February, most of our classes are filled.
Yeah. And Laurie or Jackie, if somebody wants to find out about kindergarten, what could they do?
Yeah, a great place to search for that would be, again, the website, going to the Veritas Academy website and check out the information there about the kindergarten program.
Yeah, that's www.veritasacademy.com. So, Jackie, anything else?
And then we offer tours here to the school, and you can come in on Wednesdays, often every other Wednesday, and the parents get to go visit the different classes and see the things that are going on. So you're welcome to come in and visit us at any time.
Well, and I would just say, if you really want to be encouraged, that's a great place to come. So what is your favorite thing about being a preschool teacher or a kindergarten teacher? What's your favorite part of the job?
I just love this age group because they are developing so fast. So September, it's always an interesting mix of what you're going to get. But here at the end of May, to just think back and look back on how far that my students have come. I mean, one thing I forgot to mention earlier is we do work a little bit with writing, especially their name. And there's some kids who don't even know how to write their name. And now I can put a word up on the board and they can copy it down. There's just behavioral things. It's just really exciting to get to see the growth that happens in 9 months.
Yeah, that they're probably very different people from the start of the school year to the end of the school year. That's like a fifth of their life.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember Sharon Strawbridge always had this. She's our first grade teacher, one of our first grade teachers, and she would bring them in from recess in that first week of school. And then she would start reading to them. They would be sitting on their carpet squares. And as she's reading, they're just one after another just falling asleep. And then when the last one fell asleep, she would close the book and just sit quietly there for a few minutes. But they're very different by the end of the year. They've really changed. So, Jackie, what's your favorite thing?
I, too, love kindergarten and the kindergarten age. The children are just so much fun. I enjoy it so much. And when they come in, it's such a difference from, as we were just saying, from when they start till here at the end of the school year. Many of them don't know how to write their name, but if they do, they write it backwards, which is something I couldn't do if I tried. They almost write it in a mirror image. And then, of course, many of them cannot read, and many of them cannot count to 100. And so there's lots of things that they are learning. And here at the end of the year, we've learned about different people in Lancaster County history, and they're writing paragraphs, learning how to form them. And their printing is so beautiful. They write real big when they come in, and it gets smaller and smaller and
that
neater
muscle,
and neater.
Yeah,
yes, their muscle control.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they learned all the letters and sounds, and now they're reading books. And the same with math. They've learned all the math facts, and they love to play games and compete with each other. So it's just such a difference in them, and they've grown. We love to check on their height. They grow about 1.5 inches each year. And so it's really exciting to see the changes in them. And I've had opportunity to teach all the grades, but this is the grade where you can really see those physical differences the most.
Yeah. And what about you, Laurie?
Okay, Ty, it's going to be really hard to narrow it down to one.
Oh, that's good.
I think there's 3 ideas that are going around in my mind. I feel like one thing I want to say is one of the reasons why I love teaching kindergarten at Veritas is because the curriculum at Veritas Academy is so rich that it allows for all this growth that Jackie was just talking about, all this growth in their learning that is so amazing and very significant for a kindergarten classroom. So that's my first idea.
Okay.
My second idea is just their wide-eyed curiosity and wonder that we find in kindergarten students and preschool students is just so delightful to see and to work with. And then finally, I think I just want to mention one of my classroom roles that the kids like the best. And it brings out something else that I enjoy about teaching kindergarten. One of my roles is mistakes are okay. And when I introduce that in the beginning of the year, they look at me like, really?
Sometimes that's how we learn the most.
Exactly.
When we make a mistake.
And that's why I tell them mistakes are okay because we can learn so much from them.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to the high schoolers a few Fridays ago during the devotional time. And we recognized one of them for some achievement. And then I said to the students, I said, to reach this level of achievement, you've got to fail a lot. You've got to, and I think so many students, so many kids these days are so anxious about trying to not fail at anything. And I'm like, you're never going to accomplish anything great if you're not ready to try hard, fail, and get back up off the ground and go at it again. That persistence is a very important skill. So one last thing, Jackie. If parents are thinking about, they have 5 years, they're going to make a choice to send their child to kindergarten. I mean, some would homeschool, but let's say they've made the decision they're going to send their children to school. They want to know what a day is going to be like for them. So describe a day in the life of a Veritas kindergartner.
Well, we always start off with singing. Now that we have 2 classes, the other class comes over and we sing together. And in kindergarten, we go through the Old Testament, and the children, because I love the Old Testament, the children really have learned to love the Old Testament and look forward to the stories. And many of them can tell the stories themselves, which is really interesting to hear. And then, of course, we learned, we go to math, and there's so many things we learn in math. We start from the very basic of learning the numbers, and we go through, we learn patterns, we learn counting money, we learn counting all different ways, by 2s, by 5s. There's so many things that we learn in math, and of course, we learn all the addition and subtraction facts, which they love to do, and then we play games with those, and they can memorize those really well. Mm-hmm. We also then, of course, go to reading, and we learn starting with the letters and the sounds, and we always make it fun. So for each letter, we sometimes do special activities. The letter M, we have a masquerade party. We go on field trips that go along with our letters and sounds, and I always try to have something special for whatever letter we're learning, and the children really enjoy that, and it also helps them to remember then that letter and sound. And then, of course, we start reading our books, and we have little contests with the books, and they get to take them home and read them to their parents. And here at the end of the year, now
They're
that
probably really excited to take them home and read them to their parents.
They love when they get to take those books home. And here at the end of the year, they're each going to bring in a book and read it to us, which is really exciting for them.
Oh, my.
And so they love to do that. And then, of course, we also have music and art and PE, and that's all fit into our day, too. So it's a fun day, packed full of activities, and the children all really seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Ladies, I'm so thankful for you. I do believe that you have some of the most joyful jobs here at Veritas, just being around preschoolers and kindergartners. And it's got to be great to watch them grow up to be the people that they are. Like you've seen so many kids kind of go up through the years, and then there they are, doing these amazing things. It's just such a blessing. So thank you, ladies, for all that you do here. And thank you for all that you've given to so many students here at Veritas.
You've been listening to Cultivate, the podcast of Veritas Academy, a preschool through 12th grade classical Christian school in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. If you'd like to learn more about Veritas, visit veritasacademy.com to discover the truth, beauty, and goodness of classical Christian education.